Hi, I'm Dave, and welcome to TRP Tech Talk. If you have a migrating bite point with the pads hitting the rotor, or uneven piston movement, or perhaps you've already aligned the caliper and now one of the pads is hitting the rotor, it could be because there's air trapped behind one of the pistons. Now, this is because the air is going to expand when it's heated up, pushing the pad out, or not compress when you pull the lever, not moving the pad. So today, we're going to walk you through TRP's piston purge procedure. Here's the tools you're going to need: assorted Allens, T15 Torx wrench, Park Tool PS1 piston pushing tool, tow strap, isopropyl alcohol, TRP mineral oil, tubing with M6 bleed fitting, and clean rags. So to start, the first thing you're going to want to do is remove the wheel. As you can see, I've already done that. And then next, we're going to align our lever so that the bleed port is at the highest point. Now on these DHRs, it's at about a 45-degree angle. And then we're going to install a tube of fluid onto the lever. So using a T15 Torx wrench, I'm going to go ahead and remove the bleed port plug. Okay, take that set aside, keep that bleed port plug in a safe place. The next thing we're going to do is install that tube of fluid. Now this will give us a visual for when the bubble does come out, and it will also allow us to have excess fluid to replace that bubble. So taking a tube of fluid, we can just dip it into our mineral oil, and using my finger, I can capture some of that fluid. And we're going to go ahead and install that into our bleed port. And that can just be finger tight. Perfect. Clean up using a clean rag. The next thing we're going to do is remove the caliper. That'll give us a visual on the pistons and which side is moving and which side's problematic. So remove caliper mounting bolt. And the adapter, and I'll put those aside as well. Now for the rear brake, you're going to want to do the same thing. Remove the rear brake and let that brake hang so that the caliper is the lowest point and the lever is the highest point. So now we can take a look and see inside our caliper, and using a tool such as the Park Tool PS1, make sure that tool is clean. We don't need to remove the pads for this, and using the tool and the pads will prevent the pistons from actually popping out entirely, creating a really big mess. So insert that tool, and then holding that with one hand, slowly pump the brake, and you'll be able to see which side of the caliper is moving freely and which side's the problematic side. In this particular case, it looks like the inboard side's the freely moving one and the outboard side's the problematic. So holding and leveraging off the caliper, hold the side that's moving freely. Now, force fluid by pumping the lever slowly to the problematic side and get those pistons to expose themselves and pop out. Then using this tool, force the problematic pistons back in. That'll force that fluid back into the hose. So if there is a bubble trapped behind those pistons, it's going to move with that fluid back into the hose. Now you're going to need to repeat this process at least 3 times. And then go ahead and push those problematic pistons back in. Now, keep an eye on your tube of fluid up here, and hopefully after 3 or 4 of these, you'll see that bubble pop out. But now if you're seeing foaming or lots of small bubbles in there, you may have more air in the system than you think. And what you're going to want to do then is put the system under pressure. So either using the PS1 tool installed, or taking the pads out and putting a bleed block in there, or even reinstalling the wheel and rotor to give yourself the proper spacing. Pump the lever till you get a nice firm feeling. And that's actually going to hold that tool in there. And install a tow strap or a zip tie or rubber band or something to put the system under pressure. Now what that's going to do is it's going to compress the fluid and hopefully consolidate all those little bubbles into one or two bigger bubbles. Those bigger bubbles have more buoyancy and will move through the system faster and easier. Now you can let that sit there for a while, maybe even overnight if you'd like, if you have the time. But once you are pretty sure that those bubbles are consolidated, go ahead and remove your tow strap or rubber band and go back to your piston purge procedure. So again, holding that freely moving side, get some fluid behind the problematic side pistons, and push those pistons back in and force that fluid up. So it looks like we're doing pretty good with this one. So I'm going to push both sides of the pistons back in. Looks nice. Go ahead and put our tool away. And before I reinstall this, I'm going to go ahead and remove our tube of fluid. Again, keeping my finger over the top of it so that I don't spill fluid everywhere. Go ahead and put that back into our tube, our bottle of fluid. And we can reinstall our bleed port plug. And this goes to 0.8 to 1.2 Newton meters, which is just hand tight. Then we can go ahead and, using a clean rag and some isopropyl alcohol, kind of clean up the top. And then go ahead and reinstall our caliper. We've got the adapter and our top mounting bolt. And our bottom mounting bolt. Keep the spacers where they need to be. And I'm just going to tighten this till it's just snug, leaving it a little bit loose so that the caliper has a little bit of side-to-side movement. That way, when I reinstall my wheel per the manufacturer's recommendations, I can then align the caliper and then tighten them to the final 6 to 8 Newton meters. And hopefully, you've gotten all the bubbles out, no air in the system, and you're ready to hit the trail again. Thanks for watching. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, go ahead and hit that like button. And if there's any questions, feel free to comment below or hit up our customer service team. And for more content like this, check out our website, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.